oh, like woman only funny when taking testosterone and pretending to be a man. Well, that didn't work for Hannah Bixby, but China Boy here is actually really funny. Great job, they. And that was about me.
Stop. If you haven't listened to the last episode, pause, go back to it.
I feel like we're at a time where like it's pretty hard to not get dogpiled.
Do you feel like you've been dogpiled?
No, but I have definitely experienced just like how arbitrary like algorithms are, where like I'll have one video do extremely well on TikTok, but if it's like on the wrong place on YouTube, then it's just like all the worst things I've ever read. Like or I've seen a video just like get no views, no likes for a long time. And then like one day I wake up and I'm like, why do I have all these new followers? And it just like randomly hit a different algorithm and like people love it. Like,
yeah. What do you make of that? Haven't had this experience.
Yeah, this is where like I need my lecture where I'm like, oh, I think we live in a really like stratified. Our culture is really stratified, and like there's a lot of fear mongering between politicians, and so like identity has become like this hot button issue where you
do this pretty well.
No, but I do believe like that's what's going on. Like, well, I've joked about it, but you know, like I have also gotten like really awesome YouTube comments. So there's like one where they're like, oh, like woman only funny when taking testosterone and pretending to be a man. Well, that didn't work for Hannah Bixby, but China Boy here is actually really funny. Great job, they. And that was about me.
Dear God. Does it get to you like getting like hate? Like,
it definitely did when I first like, I remember when I did the Tonight Show, there's so many photos of me where there's like no life behind my eyes. I was always really private because like, one, I was like trans and I didn't necessarily want my parents to like really realize to what extent I was like talking about it or whatever. And also like, I saw how much hate like trans comics get, that I was like very private, so I wouldn't post. But then like when the Tonight Show comes around, you're like, I'll do it. And like, I definitely in my head thought like, if I'm funny enough, then like I won't get this kind of hate, and it's like really delusional. Wow. But at the time, that's what I thought. And then like when I did my set, like I did it just for laughs, and I got amazing feedback. Like from just doing it live once in Canada, someone was like, "Come do the Tonight Show." Like it just fast tracked me onto the Tonight Show. So I was like, I knew it was like,
do it.
Yeah, like and I've seen it live kill, and they're like, you should do it on the Tonight Show. So then the booker of the Tonight Show has me do it, and then even after that set, like I got only really positive feedback from like people like actually there, but like, and then just to see like so much feedback that's still just like really hateful. It did just shake me to my core where I was like, wait, is this what it's always going to feel like? Where like, no matter how good I get, like there's a ceiling on how much positive feedback. Yeah. Like I like really made a set that I thought showed a wide range of like what I'm doing comedically. And then to have people be like, oh, great, another comic who only talks about being trans. I was like, at some point I'm like, actually, this is not about my, like, I actually mentioned it like once, and like you're choosing to not look at anything else. And also just like this anger and resentment, like knowing like there were some other guys that I've done live shows with that we get like very similar audience responses, like in the room, but like online, it's night and day in terms of like what people will say about our sets. And like, it's because, and I think there was just like a deep sadness and jealousy that in my brain, I was like, I'll never feel as rewarded as these other people. People should feel happy after they do the Tonight Show and like feel like if they do a good set and get like they should get lots of good feedback. And I was like, why am I being robbed of this because of like who I am? But now I don't care as much.
I was just gonna say that's
it did make me sad, but then like and then you just remember there's a war, to put it lightly. Right. At some point you just realize it's like not personal. Netflix will post a clip of John Mulaney, and I've seen people go like, who the f is this? And I'm like, it's John Mulaney. Like if this can happen to him, it's not really like, you can't take it personally. It's just like the cultural norms are so different, and like I need to recognize them as different. I can't take it with the same seriousness if like 1,000 people in my actual real life said it to my face. Like it's not the same.
It would not happen.
Wow, am I boring you at all?
This is I'm like locked in.
So this is my impression of a girl who just needs to lock in. No, I'm gonna get that essay done. No, I just have to lock in. Yeah, I would get a coffee though. I would.
The thing I'm like thinking about is just like, I mean, I think like the dogpiling, the like self-diagnosing with different like things, the anti-Nepo baby like dogpiling. I'm like, I think what's just happening is like we're just all being so affected by capitalism and like neoliberalism, and like we're all just like suffering together. They're all just coming from a place of like individual insecurity because we live in a world where we're led to believe like everything that's wrong in our lives is ultimately something that's like our fault and that we should have fixed, and not the government and not the state. And like, I think people are just trying to find so many reasons why their life hasn't worked out one way or another, or like why this person has it better than me,
and pointing fingers,
and then also like digital media makes you feel important, and like it does help me feel more empathetic, because then I'm over here in my own boat like, I worked so hard, like why can't I feel appreciated? It's just like I think everyone just feels so alone and underappreciated and pissed. And like, I'm obviously upset. Like they're using like my race and my gender against me. But I'm like, I think it's just hard to be struggling economically and then see this party that like gloms onto one community and not feel like these are the elites that have power over me. Some of the ways that people talk about like trans people or like this like gender stuff is very analogous to like how people talk about like anti-Semitism or like,
oh, how so?
Where it's just like this sense of like, these people have power over us. Like they're changing the education system. Like they're the reasons behind this. And I think this anti-gender movement, their theory was like, it's because people are feeling the effects of like late stage capitalism. They just channeling it toward, it's just become the scapegoat for like the general economic like insecurity that everyone's like, and so they're pointing their finger at this, like at these people because like everyone is really uncomfortable. It's still not ready yet to talk about how they aren't really happy like in a capitalist world, That's like a theory that again is not my idea and I butcher it, but it's somebody else's idea in a book somewhere that I'm sorry that I can't remember the name of it.
No, you popped off because I just feel like, I don't think we're talking enough about people's attitudes towards capitalism and how they're doing financially or economically is such a source of their
everyone's strife.
Yes,
like it's actually so huge and it's like all the time and like people don't have the language for it or like don't even realize it's like happening to them. Yeah. And I'm not saying like the Nepo baby critique isn't like valid, but it's like, why is it so like this? Like, why did it like get such a huge grip on the culture where like everyone is like, you see a famous or successful person and like there are some people who like their first thing is to look into whether or not they're Nepo baby at all. And sometimes it's the craziest thing I've ever said. It'll be like, you thought this person made it on their own? I'll have you know their second uncle was a PA on The Sopranos. It's up here and you're like, like this is like coming from an emotional place or like everybody's just looking for something to blame like,
and for reasons of like, while they'll never be able to like penetrate that sphere and get there themselves.
Right, but it also speaks to like the delusion we all live in where it's like, well, actually, like, wait, did you actually like
think that like Kaya Gerber took away your
I know, like, or that like any of it ever was like a proper meritocracy. Like, well, what's weird is like if you ask it in the abstract, I'm sure they'd be like, of course things aren't like a meritocracy. People who are into like, who kind of like are annoyed at this rhetoric will be like, I mean, like, are you surprised when like a guy whose dad is a doctor becomes a doctor? Like it's all helpful, but you don't feel that same anger. And like, there are specifics to like the entertainment industry being just generally like more of like a black box where it's harder to like have an idea of how any of it works. Separately, like the entertainment industry is like, I'm like, okay, so something I realized recently that might be dumb. You know how our parents like really wanted us to work at Ford or GM, like at General Motors? Like I definitely tricked myself into being like, I'm so liberated. Like I'm free because I became an artist or an entertainer. Like I'm actually living like the dream. And like, I didn't realize like, no, I'm actually doing exactly what like a neoliberal culture would ask of me, which is to become my own boss and worker. You know what I mean? I think there is like this fake myth of like being an actor or being a writer is some kind of like form of like freedom because like, I might be like totally misunderstanding. I did not study this in school, like, but like, I feel like a neoliberal dream is to be your own boss. So I think like that's also why people are just so much more sensitive about the Nepo baby stuff. Like Hollywood Nepo babies is because like that is a version of a dream. Yeah. Like possibly like one of the dreams because it's like both the arts and also you're like your own boss.
Then like what does help you kind of feel grounded or like you can kind of keep going, like especially
my little philosophy podcast.
Tell me more.
I keep listening to this podcast called Philosophize This.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, you listened to it too?
I've listened to it before, yes.
Yeah, I love it. It helps me so much.
How? Just to rethink things or?
I think it helps reframe like how much of my anxiety is like real. Like
oh, wow.
Like helps me just understand like why I might want things or why I might be so anxious and like I don't know. I don't know why, but it's really helped in a way that I mean I started like 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago and but I'm still running high from it. Like I'm still like so much
feeling
happier.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, I have so much to be grateful for. Like, I'm like, yeah, okay, so I'm an unknown and no one's giving me auditions. But like, so few people get exactly what they want, but also I don't know if the emotional fuel of like, our country wouldn't work if we all felt secure, and didn't feel like we had more to do. Like, it runs on us. So I think it just putting that into perspective. You know what it has done for me? It's like, I feel like my new enemy is not myself and my ability to be productive, but rather like something else entirely. Like the need to be so productive that I like forget about all the wonderful things in my life. I feel like it helped me just like realize who my true enemy is. And it's not like me and my productivity. It's like
the way that you thought and in response to the system is the enemy, and the way that you thought in response to that system has made it worse.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, I used to like antagonize myself, and I used to antagonize like the industry. Like, it's just like I was just spending so much time being like, I'll be happy once I figure out how to like self-actualize. Cause like we live in a world where it's like, you need to figure out how to self-love. You need to figure out how to get productive. You need to get on the right meds and the right therapy. Like, and you need to like have the right job with the right like benefits. And I thought that like my enemy was like conquering all of these like obstacles. And then listening to this podcast made me realize like, actually the real enemy of like joy or of like contentment is probably just like narcissism, of like just thinking way too much about myself and not thinking enough about just like all these other parts of life that are so important that aren't centered around like productivity and like material goods.
Damn.
Boom! And this, wow, I can't wait for that. I can't wait for that soundbite to get 5 likes.
Get ready.
5 likes, 3 shares.
And it won't matter then.
Yeah! I agree. Yeah, I don't even care. Because I feel so good. With or without you guys.
So what's the answer then, Sabrina? We can't fix this thing, but how can we begin to?
I don't know. I'm literally the dumbest person.
I can't believe I asked you that.
I'm a dumb fool. I wish we could have been dumber and stupider together sooner. I don't know. I feel like maybe on a cultural level, we all need to like stop dogpiling and just try to just genuinely value like community. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I think we need to be like all like, and I say this as someone who's probably extremely self-centered because like my whole career is built around myself. Like, it's like, I think we all need to like be a lot less self-centered, like pure. Like, I think it's just hard for people to stop thinking about like, does this person add to my life?
Wow.
And I'm like, why do we like you look at like love or relationships, like the advice is always like, if this person's not all in, then cut them out. Like, it's like so like self-focused and like, can you advance your life in any way? And I'm like, you know, like if it just keeps being like me versus them, me, like it's, I think something bad. I think it's adding to like,
bad.
Yeah, it's really bad.
How is your social life for making friends as someone has like fame?
Right. I mean, to be fair, my followers are declining every day, and I'm like, no, and I'm hiding my like counts, and it's true.
No, I feel the like count thing. Yours is higher, but I feel that.
Where I'm like, well, gotta hide this. This is embarrassing. I don't think I feel like very simply like since Joyride came out, like people like want something from me, but like in general, like I'm noticing like I have anxiety and other people seem more anxious. People have told me that they thought that I was really busy or something. I've like been just confused over, is my personality worse? Like, why is it harder to make friends than like back in college? It like, I do think like even on a subconscious level, I feel like people are like scared to be friends with people that are in a different part of their career, you know, in a way where I'm like, and that anxiety goes both ways. So like, I think that like, that's also why I'm like, I hope we all stop thinking about ourselves so much. Cause like we'll all have better friends if we're not thinking about like how we relate to people in terms of like our careers or like our standing socially. I've been really, really relieved that like since I've been touring, a good number of people who show up like to my shows are like queer and Asian. There are people who I can tell like maybe don't even like listen to other comedians that much. It's been really nice to just be like, oh, these are like my anxious freaks. Like they really are like my people and like I'm speaking to them. So like I was a little bit worried, like I spent so much time in these alt-white comedy scenes. Like you just never want to be the person that you're not speaking to your own people, you know? I've seen so many white comics who can't play to all kinds of rooms. They'll never know it because so many rooms are predominantly white, but like I know they would eat shit like if they did an all Asian room.
Do you feel pressure that, or like maybe put on like I think like a pedestal of being like the face of like Asianness or queerness in a pretty like Asian and queer scarce media landscape?
When I interviewed to like have like an article written about me, I was like, oh my God, this headline is just about my gender and race. And I was like, you know, I was like a little bit like people really wanted to angle it that way because I think it's like a really easy angle. Yeah, I mean, it was frustrating to be like, what do you want to say to all the queer people watching? And I'm like, I don't know. This is like not a hot take, but it's just like, I hope someone just talks about how funny I am.
At the same time, people have kind of like DM'd you being like, it's so cool to like see this, right? Like people
there are people who are really sweet about that. Yeah. That is nice. I mean, I'm really happy like that I'm really honored that they feel that way. But also sometimes I joke about how I have like a recycling bin in my like mind palace. And like, there's just certain things where I'm like, I'm not throwing it in the trash, but I am going to throw this in this bin because I can't like internalize, because you know me, I think that social media is sometimes the praise of like you are this thing. I'm like that's really, really like I'm just so like happy that like I could do anything good, but I'm also not gonna like genuinely internalize that I'm like
a beacon of hope for
because it's just like I'm like, well, I mean, I'll probably self-harm in the next 2 months, like knowing my general cycle of mental illness. I'm like, you know, I'm like, well, whatever. Like,
is that something that we're doing?
self-harming.
Yeah, I can't believe I asked it that way.
I'm like,
how are we mentally? Like, sorry.
That's the funniest thing ever. Wait. Am I about that life? For the flop arrow of it, I go in and out of flop arrows and stress.
Even at this level, like that you've kind of...
Well, it's funny. Like, I mean, obviously everyone says it, but I still feel like my future is very unclear. Like, I'm also being really affected by this contraction in the industry where I'm getting so few auditions at all. I mean, especially since everything's so much more conservative, I'm like, well, I don't know what it means for like any of my work. There's so many random people with like 500,000 followers. Like, I don't even know what they're doing, but I know they have like, but I know they're posts are getting way more views than mine are.
Yeah. I got the sense that it was a myth, how some people view you like, oh, you literally like are in a movie, like you're literally fine for the rest of your life. What are you talking, you know?
No, I mean this objectively, like I'm sure in industry terms, people would call me an unknown. Like I'm 100, because I've heard other actors who are so much more famous, like so real famous, like have been on so many, like who are still being called unknown and are Asian, and you're like,
that's insane.
Yeah, where I'm like, lol, like,
and probably racist, like as we, but yeah.
Oh,
like,
sure.
Yeah.
But it's like that's the reality. So like I don't like see myself as done because there's still so much instability.
Do you feel like you still have the dream? I remember you telling me like, I just want to be the best comedian that I can be.
Oh yeah. Like I feel like I just want to work on this stuff and always get to keep on like kind of like doing it. And I hope I get to write. Like I just really want to keep writing and acting and like so there's no like one thing. In some ways, I feel like I'm like living my dream and that I am just kind of bopping around doing it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Sabrina. That's all I have to. I feel like that's such a great place to end off.
Yeah. Let's not end on any of the not any of the other shit that you have to cut out.
And that concludes my interview with the Sabrina Wu, who I actually just saw live. They crushed it at this recent comedy festival. Hey everyone. Thank you so much for watching the second one. Going into this week, we have our first event. Wait, Say More Live, the late night style. It's open to anyone who happens to be listening. If you're in the Los Angeles area, if you somehow stumbled across this, feel free to pop by because this is a time for strangers to meet each other. Okay. So if you are looking for friends, come on down. More information on the Wait Say More Instagram. Next, this episode I loved. We get a little bit headier. We get a little bit more in the macro and we hear honestly more of Sabrina's experience, especially as someone who is trans and Asian, and just how much they are defined by their identity and it's not even up to them. A reminder that this was recorded before the 2024 election. And it's so interesting to see how all of the dogpiling and just sheer hatred online, how that has only grown even more is crazy. Now, I, funny enough, have actually had my share of getting dogpiled is a strong word. I don't think I'm famous enough to be dogpiled, but getting a lot of hate on social media. Why? Because low-key I've been asking for it.
MAGA hats are red, Democrats are blue. I want to say happy Independence Day to you, unless you're Black, Brown, Asian, Hispanic, LBJTV, they, them, thou, non-library, Hispanic, Latin, XXXL folks to Spirit Week. Proverbs 3:5.
You are a disgrace to your Asian family, you communist soy boy. But I feel like I can honestly say it hasn't really gotten to me much. And maybe that would have been different, or maybe that will be different, or maybe I'm just being ignorant and it's actually like I'm acting totally in response to it without even knowing it and like thinking that I'm rising above it and like leaning into it, you know, like having fun with it. But maybe that's also not the healthiest thing. We will see. Temperature check soon. Okay? Check me on that. But the conversation about narcissism and the more philosophical take on achievement culture, especially in our country, especially during our times, that really spoke to me. I listened to this specific episode with a philosopher, Byung-Chul Hung, and one thing that the podcast was talking about that really changed my world was the conversation about positive power versus negative power. Han describes positive power as the driving force behind the achievement society, where individuals are encouraged to be entrepreneurs of themselves, constantly striving for self-improvement and success. This pressure to perform, fueled by digital technologies and the constant connectivity of social media, leads to a blurring of work and leisure and an erosion of the self. The emphasis on positive freedom, the freedom to achieve, becomes a trap, leading to self-exploitation and a feeling of never being enough. historically speaking, we've been thinking more so about the ways that we can fight against being constrained in negative power. So the power to resist, to say no, to be freed from the literal or metaphorical shackles. But Han, who like is alive today and is like a modern day philosopher, which didn't know that you could do that in this economy. The way that I interpret it is like we are all under the illusion that we are free, like in this free society, right? But actually it is ultimately in this neoliberal society that we still exist in. We are duped to think that we are free to achieve and to just excel even more. But that in and of itself is a limitation of freedom, which I was like gagged boots. And basically my further interpretation is that like this kind of idea of self-improvement and self-actualization from like an economic perspective really feeds into the narcissism. So I think it's really cool that Sabrina kind of dug in deep and was just kind of like, you know what? I'm probably narcissistic too, because my whole career is hinged on me, and my experience. And I actually think that that's a lot of experiences of the creative fields. Like that's why LA is filled with a bunch of narcissists who don't think that they're narcissists. I think a lot of narcissists get a pass from people because they are artists. This idea that, you know, pursuing your art is this selfless kind of act. Why? Because, you know, often you have to forego other options or participating in a more practical life or career in this capitalist agenda, blah, blah, blah. But actually, like living a creative life, being your own creative boss, it is this constant like me. And honestly, again, like I feel like I can be guilty of this as well, where I'm like, what can I do to put myself out there to get the most attention, to get the most views, to get the whatever in the chase for having success? The amount of views that you get is literally equates to how much money you can get. It's just going to be so focused on how can I be such a excessively achievement focused person. That's something that I guess I'm thinking about. Ultimately, this philosopher goes on to talk about the importance of, you know, like a lot of us and a lot of the people in society right now are saying like, we're not listening to each other. Like we think we're listening to each other, but actually we're just finding opinions and perspectives because of the algorithm or whatever that just reinforce the ways that we think. And not only that, but we mold our ways of thinking in order to fit what other people think, because that will lead to views. In the name of trying to expose myself to different perspectives, I'm going to willingly subject myself to reading Fox News articles, but I'm not going to do it as me. I'm going to do it as me. Hey, liberals and it's me, Kayleighanne. That's Kayleighanne. You better not get it wrong or else you're racist. So, here we go. We're going to read some of my favorite Fox News headlines, because Fox News is the least biased and most reputable news source that only states the facts. AOC should be sued into bankruptcy over latest attack on Trump. Okay. AOC likes to play pretend like she's from the block, but she's just a sad, miserable blockhead who is trying to overcompensate for her lack of self-confidence that has followed her for her entire life. Ooh, let's see what else we got here. Fires back at Democrats over alligator Alcatraz. And I'm bored. Okay, so you know what? Maybe we'll do this next time. Oh my God. Okay. Thank you very much for watching, and see you guys at the party. I think it's going to be really fun. Thank you so much for tuning in. Truly, I hope you guys have an amazing time. Okay, bye. I'll see you next time.